We'll adopt the minutes. Motion moved, seconded. All those in favor, contrary carried. Our next meeting is July 16th. And right here in the very room, we've got Councillor Hobbs on Zoom, and Councillor Day will not be here. She's awaiting some wonderful things in Bellingham. The first item is the application by Matthew Chang, architect, for rezoning at 8440 and 60 number 3 road from a 2-unit dwelling or RD1 zone to a small-scale multi-unit housing RSM1 zone. And we've got Laurel and Josh. Tell us about this wonderful development.
Thank you, and through you, Mr. Chair. Just a couple of highlights, if I may. This application was received prior to Bill 44 and the introduction of the small-scale multi-unit housing. The proposed rezoning of the subject property to the small-scale multi-unit housing zone would facilitate the creation of 2 new lots with shared access from Lucas Road. The proposed rezoning and subdivision is consistent with the area's lot size policy and the city's zoning bylaw. The applicant has indicated that their intent is to develop each property as a single-family building, each containing a 1-bedroom, unstratified secondary suite on both properties, consistent with the city's affordable housing strategy. Under the existing 2-unit dwelling RD1 zone, the owner could rebuild a duplex. However, it would be their choice on whether or not to construct a secondary suite, and the duplex could be stratified. Consistent with Bill 44, under the new RSMM zone, there would be the ability to instead construct a small-scale multi-unit development, with the exception that at least one of the units in each building must be a 1-bedroom secondary suite. In addition, through this rezoning, in addition to securing the rental unit in the form of a secondary suite, there are also road dedications along number 3 road and a corner cut. We're also securing a design covenant and a landscape plan for the corner lot. With that, we're happy to answer any questions.
Okay. Does anybody have anything on this?
Move recommendation.
Moved and seconded. Any further discussion? Michael? Oh, hang on here. Well, I think
Thank you. Yeah, my question to
there
the,
you are. Your councilor number 2.
as these first 2 items are adjacent, they're side by side. This is the corner one, right? This is the corner one.
Yeah.
The one after this, in the tree protection report, it mentions that there's 3 trees, neighboring trees that are going to be removed and 3 that are going to be retained. And I think one of the ones that in the next item says it's going to be retained is actually on the property for this item. And on page 26, it looks like trees along that property line are all being removed. So I might ask this again specifically in the next one, but do you happen to know anything about the neighboring trees that the next report impacts for this?
Through the chair to Councillor Wolf, with respect to the subject application that's being discussed right now, i.e. the corner lot, the 3 trees that are referenced in the subsequent staff report are proposed to be removed.
Okay, then I'll follow that up in the next one. The last quick question I wanted to ask was the, sorry, where's here, the covenant that was on this one? I saw it somewhere. Maybe I'm missing. Is there any covenant on this site? Because the next one's has a duplex covenant, right? This one has.
There is an existing covenant on the property for this site. It is limited to restricting driveway access to off of Lucas only. So that is the covenant that exists on that property.
Great. And then the next time I was going to ask when that covenant was put on, because the date wasn't in here. Do you happen to know when the date for that covenant was put on, around the lane access or the non-access?
I don't have the specific date on me, sorry.
Okay, that's all. Thanks.
Okay. Any further discussion? All those in favor? Contrary carried. Thank you very much. Okay, the second item we have today is the application by Eloyal Construction for rezoning of the adjacent property 8020 and 40 Lucas Road from the 2 units R1D to the small scale RSM1, and Laurel and Josh again. So similar parallel.
Thank you, and through the chair, to keep things brief, the similar situation as the application that was previously considered. It was again received prior to Bill 44 being introduced. as well as the small-scale multi-unit housing. The proposed rezoning and subdivision, again, is consistent with the lot size policy and the city's zoning bylaw. Consistent with Bill 44, under the new RSM-M zone, there is the ability to construct a small-scale multi-unit development, with the exception that one unit in each building must be a unstratified secondary suite. That concludes my comments.
Alexa, are you hanging on here? There you go.
Thank you. Through the chair to staff, thank you for these two reports. So just to confirm, when we brought in our responses to Bill 44, we did things like reducing garage space and this and that, and how the driveways are going to come into the yard. Those aren't applicable in this case, right? Because this came in in the previous rules.
Through the chair to Councillor Liu, they are subject to the new restrictions and everything that is set out in the RSM-M zoning for the subject property. So if they choose to build a single-family unit, as is proposed by the applicant, they are subject to all of the restrictions that exist in the RSM zone that was approved by council.
Okay, but they had their application in earlier, even though we changed it?
The application for rezoning of the property was originally to a new single-family lot, so it would have created two single-family lots. This is just creating two new lots consistent with the small-scale multi-unit housing zone as required in order to comply with Bill 44.
Okay, so they still got burned on the garage space.
Through the chair to Councillor Liu, yes.
Thank you.
Michael, I'll get you here. There.
Great. Thank you very much, through the chair. So kind of in line with what I asked on the last item, the first question I have is about, at the top of page 37, the covenant on title for this is that duplexes only. Do you know when that was put on? Do you have the date on that?
Sorry, I didn't hear the question.
Oh, when the covenant on title was put on this property for the duplex only?
Through the chair to Councillor Wolf, I don't have that immediately available, but I can provide that to you.
That's okay. The other question I had is in the tree retention replacement part, it talks about there was assessment of 6 neighboring trees. And then in the summary, it says we've authorized the removal no, sorry, not that line. I guess in the bullet points, it says 3 trees located on neighboring property will be protected. 3 trees on neighboring property will be considered in a separate report. And if I look at the map that's included in this package, it shows, I think, those 3 neighboring trees on page 49, and all 3 of them are marked with an X and to be removed. So I don't know what the next report is. And then in the summary under tree protection, it says 4 trees will be retained and protected, not 3. So I think the outlier here is this A2 tree, but when I see it on that map, it shows A2 is to be removed. So do you have any idea about that?
Through the chair to Councillor Wolf, again, if you don't mind, please repeat the question.
Sure. So on our page in the package, 49, it's the attachment 6, the tree consulting group. It shows neighboring trees. The one at the top here of the page with an X on it, if you look really closely there, it says A2, tree to be removed.
Okay.
And then on the page 38 in the tree protection summary, it lists A2 as a tree that's going to be retained and protected.
Okay. Through the chair to Councillor Wolf, as per the tree management plan on page, 49, the trees on the neighboring lot are on the adjacent property that's subject to the rezoning. So it would be, they were assessed under that rezoning, and all 3 of those trees were approved through that rezoning to be removed.
If I could clarify, through the chair to Councillor Wolf, there are a total of 6 off-site trees, 3 located on neighboring property to the south, 3 located on the neighboring property to the west. The 3 on the property to the south are being retained, as is an additional off-site city tree. So that would be the 4 trees that are referenced in the body of the staff report. The other 3 trees located on the property to the west, which were assessed through the previous report.
Okay, I'm just going to make the statement that this line is wrong on page 38, where it says 4 trees, A2 included, on neighboring properties are to be retained and protected, because they're not, or that tree is not, at least. And I think it's confirmed. That's all I had for that one. Thanks.
Anybody else? Motion then? Second? All those in favor? Contrary? Carried. Okay, thank you. The next item is an application of Asteria Properties for rezoning at 8440 Williams to do the low-density townhouse RTL 4, and the recommendations for first, second, third reading. And Cynthia and Josh again. Okay, you're on.
Through the chair, I don't have anything to add, but I would like to highlight a few points. This application is for the rezoning of the subject site to the low-density townhouse zone to permit the development of 3 townhouse units with vehicle access from Williams Road. The proposal is consistent with the Arterial Road Land Use Policy, which designates the site for townhouses, and the proposal enables shared vehicle access to future townhouse development to the east, also consistent with the policy, via a right-of-way over the drive aisle to be secured prior to final adoption of the rezoning bylaw. There are frontage and servicing improvements required with rezoning, and those are to be designed and constructed through the servicing agreement process. To accommodate the frontage improvements, the applicant is required to provide a corner cut road dedication and 0.91 meter wide road dedication along Williams prior to final adoption of the rezoning bylaw. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Yeah, I just have one. Is this, since this is the first one with 3 and 1 lot, is this sort of the prototype we're going to see?
Through the chair, so this is still a rezoning to townhouse zone. This is not, a different form of housing than what you would otherwise be seeing under the townhouse zone.
Where they put 4 though?
Through the chair, based on the review process that was part of this application and all of the requirements with townhouse development, this is the optimal site plan for this site.
Okay, thank you. I'm going to go to Councillor Hobbs. I clicked on Zoom. What happened?
Hey, thanks, and through the chair, you can hear me okay?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, thanks, and through the chair, thanks for the report. There's some good features in this report for sure. Just a couple quick questions. Just with the privacy and shading issues, I realize shading wouldn't be an issue for the house on Leonard to the south, but the house on Williams to the east. There were no comments or no concerns expressed by the neighbor there because they were consulted about the site in general, I think, right?
Through the chair, there were no comments received from any of the public in response to the posting of the sign on the site.
Okay, just a couple more quick ones. The house to the south on Leonard then, it appears from the diagram when I'm looking at that, it's tiered down to the south to where it abuts the house south on Leonard. So those are the same height by the time you get down to that end?
Through the chair, the 3-story form transitions to a 2-story form closer to that you get to the south. So it would be 2-story unit adjacent to a 2-story single-family home. As to the specific dimensional height, I wouldn't be able to say whether they're the same exactly, but they're conceptually the same.
Okay, yeah, it looked pretty close. And the last question is the laneway that's going in next to the remaining house beside it at 8260 Williams, that laneway, the width of that, will that, if that house is developed in the future, would the lane have to be widened using part of that property, or is the lane being put in wide enough to accommodate any future development and have a joint driveway like the report says?
Through the chair, the existing drive aisle width through the subject site is wide enough to accommodate the future envisioned large vehicle and small vehicle turning movements that would be required to reach the adjacent site to the east. There would be an extension to the eastbound portion of the drive aisle with future development to the east.
Great, thank you.
Michael?
Thank you. Through the chair, two questions to staff. First one on energy step code on our page 62. The proposal here is to achieve step 3, energy level 4 of the energy step code. Is this a lead example in the city? I don't recall seeing step 3 with an EL4 for townhouses.
Through the chair to Councillor Wolf, this would be the one of the options that that you can build under. So you have either a step 3 with EL4 or a step 4 or a step 5. So it just depends on what are the factors that you want to include in construction that allow you to meet whatever step it is. But this would be in compliance with the current city step code requirements.
Okay, great. Yeah, I know there's steps the options that were available that could have gone further, but anyhow, it's good the combinations are in there and options are available. My next question through the chair is about the tree removal. So my question is a little different this time. I see that they removed 8 trees, and then it says, since this rezoning application was submitted shortly after the tree removals, now there's replacement 2-to-1. What's that length of time that would trigger that, where it's considered, oh, it's close to when you remove trees, you didn't have an application in at the time, and a reason to remove the trees necessarily? Is there?
Through the chair, there's no real, amount of time, but just that, if they were to have proceeded with building, a single-family home, for example, instead of submitting their rezoning application, they would have only been required to do 1-to-1 replacement. But with a rezoning application, the replacement ratio is greater. So we applied that ratio here. The applicant has agreed, so that this is the proposal that's before you.
Great, I appreciate that. Thanks.
Anything else? Anybody? Moved? Seconded? All those in favor? Contrary? Carried. Okay, our last item on the agenda is a heritage alteration permit for 12111 3rd Avenue Stevenson Hotel. And the recommendation is it be issued. And Judith and Suzanne.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I have nothing to add to the report, but would like to provide a summary of the application. The application before you is a heritage alteration permit application for the Steveston Hotel, which is one of the identified heritage resources in the Steveston Village Heritage Conservation Area. The proposal is to make exterior changes to the main floor facades of the north wing, where the pub is located, in order to convert the pub to additional hotel suite. No additional floor area is proposed. The hotel use is permitted under the current zoning of the property, Steveston Commercial CS2 zone. The proposed exterior alterations are limited to those required to achieve the change in internal layout to create hotel suites. On the street elevation, the existing fixed windows will be replaced with new open-up windows in the same locations and dimensions, and one new window of the same size and type will be added at the south end of the street facade. And the existing wood entry doors will be retained, but the glazing will be replaced with a clear glass. There are 2 entrance canopies, and one of the entrance canopies over the south entry door will be removed, and the other canopy to the main entrance will be retained. The existing Buccaneer sign will also be replaced with a new sign, Steveston Suites. And on the north elevation, 4 new windows are proposed, and the exit door will be removed. And on the rear elevation, some of the windows will be replaced and 5 new windows will be added, and stucco will be added over existing concrete block to match the other facades. The Richmond Heritage Commission reviewed and supported the application, provided that landscape plan is further developed. So the applicant proposes planters to provide a buffer between the sidewalk and the hotel to increase privacy of the hotel guests. The proposed scope of work is limited to minimize changes to the facade and retain the existing form and character of the building. And the addition of landscaping is in keeping with the design guidelines in Steveston, for Steveston Village. Staff recommend issuance of the heritage alteration permit, and we'll be happy to answer any questions.
Okay, I'm sure there's going to be some questions. Alexa, just a minute. Oh, I got you. There you go.
Thank you. Through the chair, thank you very much for this. I know we got a letter from the Steveston Historical Society, and actually I was at their meeting the other night, and certainly it came up as a big concern that they're losing this bar that's been running since 1885. You say that the existing sign is going to be removed. Can we have it so we can save it if somebody wants to do something with it in the future, if we want to incorporate it in something else in Steveston?
Through the chair to Councilor Liu, yeah, certainly something that we can discuss with the owner of the property.
Okay, thank you. Is the applicant here?
Yes.
Okay,
He's here.
okay.
Okay.
Maybe we can speak to him after
No,
everyone's.
well, let's,
thanks.
whoa. Let's get other questions first.
Yeah.
Okay, can we wait? Can we wait and there'll be more questions? Can you sit?
Sorry.
Thank you very much. Okay, Chuck. Staff. All right, any more of staff? Okay.
Seen this.
Yes?
And, as mentioned, the co-chairs for the Stevenson Historical Society mentioned that they would like to see at least part of the Buck and Ye Bar can be reserved. So I don't know, whether or not the owner has already explored that idea, any discussion with staff, or, whether or not it's realistic to incorporate at least part of the bar.
Yes, through the chair to Councillor Au. In fact, the Steveston Hotel is a protected heritage property in the Steveston Village Heritage Conservation Area. And as such, the exterior of the property is covered under that. The interior features are not included. So in regards to that, the heritage alteration permit is specific to those exterior changes. In terms of the content of the letter, it is quite focused on those interior artifacts and elements. The letter was forwarded to the property owner when staff received it. We did discuss it with the property owner. They're not interested at this current time in meeting with the Historical Society to discuss. However, we could potentially follow up on the exterior element that Councillor Liu mentioned as well and see if there's interest in that.
Michael, okay. I have quite a few questions that I'll follow up on, first of all, the signage. The signage is a heritage site signage, and I think that should be preserved. I just can't see, from what I've seen here, how rigid were we in matching one to the Sakamoto guidelines, but also the heritage. I'm surprised the Heritage Commission endorsed this.
So through the chair to the chair, this property is a protected heritage property, so the guidelines that we use for this property is Parks Canada standards and guidelines. And for any addition or changes to the property, we also look at the Steveston Area Plan DP guidelines as well as Sakamoto guidelines. The proposed changes are quite minor, so it doesn't really change the existing form and character of the property, or it doesn't negatively affect the heritage value of the heritage of the property.
I guess that's a matter of interpretation. When you start using aluminum and other building materials in modern day, sure in hell isn't heritage. It's something in the 50s, but anyway, I'm not criticizing you. And I'll see the owner. The planter program doesn't ring a bell. I'm sorry, so it's a separated barrier. So this is basically the Steveston Hotel will no longer, well, I'll ask the owner, but be a Steveston Hotel. It's now going to be an apartment, and that's what it's going to be. Is that not right now with this? If the pub is taken out of there and all these glazed patio doors, and I don't think they had too many frosted and glazed doors back in 1890, so I'm just curious how others feel about it, so.
Through the chair, if I may, this, the portion of the building that's involved in the heritage alteration permit, that's the focus, is the addition that was added on in 1948. That's correct, versus the hotel proper, which was from the 1800s. Just to clarify, so this would be in keeping with the materials that are currently in use with the aluminum trim, et cetera.
And anything from 1950 or earlier, 75, and that's heritage, because there's very little left from pre-1950s, to be quite frank with you, in any community. So not to you. We could have a long discussion on this. And obviously, from the letter, which is interesting, the Heritage Society, and I believe, Alexa, your liaison, so you know better. They've asked for certain things to hopefully be maintained. But my question is, if they're all suites in there, who's going to see them? Part of walking in first thing in the Steveston Hotel is the darkness, the quaintness, and the historical. I could have my cowboy boots and my toy guns on and my cowboy hat and figure I was going back into Deadwood, USA. So I just wondered how that could be implemented. Maybe we'll have some discussion. I'm not sure staff can answer that. Maybe you could throw some light on it, Alexa, for our discussion before we ask the owner to come up. What was their discussion like? It'd be interesting to, like I said, given the letter, nobody's fought too hard for this, so to speak, and they're all acquiescent to it. And I'm just hoping that we can get some. Oh, did I not get you on yet?
And you can hear what's going on, the deepest, darkest. Certainly, there was a discussion at Steveston Historical Society the other evening. Some of the things that came up are the nostalgia that it's been a pub since 1885 on or about that site. They were hoping that somewhere you could go and get a drink, that kind of thing, would continue. That being said, they understand that you can't force somebody to have a certain business, and certainly they're currently in the operation themselves of a business that's not sustaining itself in Steveston, but it is being sustained for the historical value. So, but in their letter, it does say, including elements such as the original bar or the signage or other historical artifacts that would allow the public to experience a glimpse. So while people might not necessarily come into the building and see something, I know we have a mural on the south side of the Steveston Hotel. Maybe there's something we could do on the other side, incorporating the sign and a story or something. I don't know. There's more than one way to crack this nut, I think. Certainly if something like what one of the members of the committee was talking about, like a snug where you go in and you can have a drink or something, if that's not feasible, what else might be feasible? How else could we have that nod to what happened there? There also was sadness, certainly from some of the committee, on the fact that there's only two places in Steveston that have live music. One is the ANAF, which is also running at a loss, and also the Buccaneers. So they're the two places where one could go for live music. That being said, if we're not all going there and drinking our fair share and spending our fair share of money there, then we're not maintaining the business. We're not helping to maintain the business and the need for it. So it's kind of that weird catch-22. And I think they understand that. But, certainly things like keeping some components somehow, how could we do that? What could that look like? And whether or not that's in the form of the business or some other way of making it so that people know that this was here and this was a thing. And, there was a nice pub there for 139 years, and maybe this is the end of it and that's the way it goes. But here's the sign, it's still kept, maybe. I don't know if that's a thing.
Yes, through the chair to Councillor Liu. Yes, I know, I can appreciate those comments. I think in terms of the structure of the heritage alteration permit, it is tied to the exterior changes in terms of the interior and the use. I'll just note the use is permitted under the current zoning, and obviously the heritage alteration permit could not, alter use, so it is a permitted use. The applicant has has not expressed interest in meeting with this historical society. We were talking about interior features. We could liaise with the applicant about the exterior sign to see what opportunities there are.
We're lost on that.
Thank you.
Okay. All right, any other questions? Okay.
Yeah.
Andy, anything from you?
Yeah, I do have
Thank you.
a couple
Good.
comments. Thank you, and through the chair. Yeah, I just want to echo some of the comments that have been made. I think it's important, though, just even if it's repetitive. I do understand it's to do with the heritage alteration permit. I do understand it's to do with the exterior only. But, you know, when you read in the background on page 2 of the report, or page 84, I mean, originally it was about the social and cultural value of the community gathering place. That's an aspect of what it was. So I realize that, you know, it is a business decision, as Councillor Liu alluded to, and it's hard to tell people what to do with their business inside. But, and the Heritage Commission has endorsed this, but I think it would be good if we could have some discussions regarding how to, as Councillor Liu said, kind of have a nod to what was there. I find it kind of hard to believe that I'm going to be in a Richmond without a Buccaneer pub. I didn't think that would ever happen, but it seems to be in the works. So whatever conversations we can have to incorporate that social, cultural, community gathering place aspect to it, and if there's a way to keep that Buccaneer kind of flavor alive, I'd be all in favor of that. So hopefully the applicant will begin to have some conversations about that. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Okay. All right, any other questions of staff? Okay, thank you very much. I think we'll ask the owner to come forward because there are some questions that councillors had, and
Mr. Chairman, I'm attending the meeting first time, but I like to start with something which I like. There are a lot of inconsistencies in statements and reports. I like to clarify that before you start asking me questions, so you'll be better be able to understand why we are going through the process. I just heard that this is a cultural and meeting place. Yes, it used to be. Today, my tenant is operating this pub. He has filed Chapter 11 protection. At the moment, most of the pubs, after COVID-19, the businesses have been affected very badly. Donnelly closed 4 pubs. And we looked at the usage and occupancies. It is less than it is 20% of what it used to be. And economically, it's not viable. Today, if somebody asks me, which is the meeting place for the community or anything, I would say waterfront. I know when I heard this, a lot of credit is given to Steveston Hotel, but we don't deserve that much. I would be very frank. And the second issue is people, especially even the historical society, there's misstatements that the pub was in existence in 1895. It was built in 1952. It was not there in 1895. And I checked the reports, and I asked my people today, how is it, were there any meetings or fundraising by any societies? In last 10 years, none. Now, let me give you when we took this decision, we looked at what kind of facility do we have. We have restaurant on the premises. It is fully licensed. As of today, even now, the restaurant is kept open till 2 o'clock. Mm-hmm. At 12 noon, the pub opens and the restaurant closes at 12. So all the traffic, who people want to have drinks, are diverted to the pub. because we cannot have two places and the cost of operating two places at the same time very high. And there's, now when we saw the fall in the, on the usage, we said the restaurant can't meet all the needs of the pub. Restaurant is fully licensed, and nowadays people don't just come to the pub for drink. Even the liquor board is encouraging people to have food and drink, just don't drink alone. And we are fully licensed at the restaurant for both food, for the pub, all the liquors they can buy. And once the pub closes, we will keep the restaurant open till late hours allowed according to the law, so that all the patrons who are used to the pub can patronize the restaurant. So there is no, the village is not losing any kind of place where they were used to. The alternative is on the site, and it's called Stevenson Hotel and Cafe. With the change in Airbnb, we saw, because even with the hotel, I'll be very honest, we are having a lot of problems, because I don't know if anybody has read the reviews of the hotel. I was going through the reviews. We have about 200 to 300 reviews. I read about 70. Most of the reviews were complimentary to all the services. The main complaint was, it is an old building. We renovated room inside, washrooms, everything to the level of 5-star hotel. We were given 3-star hotel. So I questioned it, that we spent so much money, why? They say, this is the old building. If you, Mr. Chairman, if you read the review, you will find 40% of the reviews complaining about old building. Not a single person has said, oh, it's a nice heritage old building and we enjoyed it. I'm sorry. I didn't see that statement, and it was really disheartening to expand the hotel. We are only expanding it, the apartment, for the reason, with the change in Airbnb, we saw a lot of opportunity of using this as hotels, apartments for the families. And nowadays we find there's a demand for this kind of facility. And we thought that this is the only way we can salvage the pub. Otherwise, we had to close the pub altogether, I'm sorry. If we don't build the apartments, the pub has to be closed. It cannot survive. It has a capacity of 290 people. At one time, on July the 1st, Canada Day, you wouldn't find a place to stand in there. I saw this I went there in 1917, 1918. We had outside there to lay a table for buffet lunches, and the demand was so high. It is not there anymore. And another reason, I'm sorry, I may be sidetracking, but I like to bring it to the notice of the council. I asked all the staff serving in the pub, I said, why we are having such a small volume? People are not happy with your services? What went wrong? Another reason they told me is that we only have seniors population which we are serving now. We don't have young people. I said, what do you mean, young people coming here? Yes, they come during holidays and weekends. They go around waterfront. But the kind of usage we used to have, we don't have it anymore. Because there are no young people, so many of them staying in Steveston. I said, why? The cost is very high. To buy a condo in Steveston, it will cost you $1.2, $1.3 million. Roderick Building opposite to us, they are selling condos. The last one I just checked last week is sold for 1.8 million. They say the young people, we can't afford it. So I asked them, where do you people live? All the staff serving in the pub, none of them live in Steveston. All of them come from outside. They said the cost is too high. It's unaffordable housing cost. I'm sorry, I may have taken a lot of your time, but I put all the facts before you that this is the reason. And I went through all the figures going back to 2017, 19, 20, 21, 22. And I said, I hope it will pick up. It was totally on the downtrend. There is no way it can survive.
Well, thank you for your candid comments to us. Alexa, there you go.
Thank you. Thanks for coming forward. I'm just wondering if you heard the request about keeping the signage somehow, the Buccaneer sign.
Sorry, I didn't understand.
So you're going to take down the Buccaneer sign. Is there maybe something we could work on together with that and do something special with that? Is there a possibility for that?
None, there's nothing like that. You know, I may not have understood your question.
Okay, so when you fix the facade of the building, you're going to take down the sign, just the
Buccaneers.
Buccaneer sign.
Yeah,
You're going to take it away.
the Buccaneer sign, it is falling apart.
Oh, okay, so it's not worth saving. Okay, fair enough.
It's not worth it.
Okay, thank you.
You know, we wanted to name the suites, Buchanan Suites. There wasn't much joy from people, even the staff and everybody we asked around.
Okay,
And that's what we will do is, there are certain elements inside the pub. I saw old screens and things like that. We will move them into the restaurant because the restaurant will be the replacement of the pub. The restaurant has got a capacity of over 100 people. We hardly get, on a very busy day, they get 70 to 80. And we will try to make it as cozy as the present pub. In fact, I saw some of the screens and I told the contractor, I said, we don't want to lose this one. Try to incorporate into the restaurant and make use of it. So we have some history as well.
okay, thank you.
Okay. Anybody else? Thank you very much.
Sorry, I took your time, but thanks.
No, thank
appreciate
you.
it.
I thought
Thank you.
I better open up and tell you the whole story.
That's great, thank you. Recommendation seconded, all those in favor, contrary carried. This will go to council on Monday for final approval. Okay, any managers' reports? Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just have a few updates to provide committee. I guess to begin with, a memo was sent out today to council informing members that the Richmond Heritage Commission annually organized the Richmond Heritage Awards to recognize and celebrate the accomplishments of individuals and organizations for the conservation of historic places and for promoting awareness of Richmond's diverse heritage through education, outreach, and advocacy. This year, there are 4 recipients of the 2024 Richmond Heritage Awards. which include Debbie Jiang for her extensive research and successful initiative to achieve recognition of Richmond's fallen Japanese-Canadian soldiers. Secondly, the Sea Island Heritage Society for their ongoing work and recent initiatives to document and share the history and heritage of Sea Island. Third, Jackie Brown for her volunteer involvement with the Richmond Archives and her support to establish the Dodie Ray Special Project Fund. And fourthly, Peter Grant for his work in creating replicas of historic Richmond buildings using Lego pieces and collaborating with local organizations to display the models to the public. The award recipients will be presented with their awards at a Richmond Heritage Commission event in the fall.
Great.
So we congratulate them. I also wanted to update committee on a couple updates with the bills that were adopted, or the bylaws that were adopted to address Bill 44 and 47. I guess first off, are the transit-oriented areas, which establishes a policy layer for minimum building heights and densities within 800 meters of a Canada Line station. Staff will be able to continue to process development applications under existing policies. There were some concerns originally that we may not, but we certainly can, and we've clarified that with the province. So that includes areas where the transit-oriented areas allow higher densities and building heights than what our current CCAP allow. So as a rezoning application would still be required, council would have the ability to continue to exercise their discretionary authority on aspects of the proposal that doesn't conform to the CCAP or OCP policies. So that includes affordable housing and or amenities that we receive through density bonusing. The other message I just wanted to share with Planning Committee was to do with the series of public open houses that will be held throughout the city during the next couple of weeks on Bill 44. A mail out, which looks exactly like this. Yes, this is mine from yesterday. So this was sent out to over 27,000 properties and informing them of the open house locations and times. The intention of the open houses is to inform residents of Bill 44 and the bylaws that were adopted by council, but there will also be an opportunity to provide some input through Let's Talk Richmond to provide input on the adopted bylaws and get a bit of input based on council referral. And lastly, there'll be a separate meeting with the small builders next week to review the bylaw amendments, and there'll also be a separate workshop with the small builders to better analyze the regulations and receive their input. And staff will provide a summary to council in the fall on all that input.
Great, thank you. Thanks. It's going to be busy.
Yes.
And the mails did work.
Thanks.
Anybody else? That's it? We are adjourned. Thank you very much. Okay. Yeah, all right.
Yeah, thanks.
And thank you, Les.